Brian, welcome to the podcast, man.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. We're excited to get you on. So for everybody, right before we hit record here, we actually recorded about 10-15 minutes of a killer episode. And I actually didn't make sure that the microphone was recording. So apologize to you, my friend, for that one. So let's jump into it again. Let's go ahead and just hear from you, kind of your history. Tell us a little bit about quality, the services you offer, and actually your service area as well, how far out you go.
Sure.
Kind of give us your background, and then we'll jump into it from there.
Gotcha. So with regard to background, we're well, I'm not real sure where you want me to start. We could start like we did before back in 04. So Hurricane Ivan, I had been on the roof for 3 weeks prior to Hurricane Ivan. It's just supposed to be something in between college semesters, and 3 weeks after my first day, Hurricane Ivan hit. So
trial by fire.
That's right. Yeah. So kind of got trapped in the business. There's an offer, pretty good money to stay in the business rather than going back to school. And at 19 years old, it's hard to turn down what is even today really, really good money.
Yeah.
Stuck with it, and then going back to school became a pipe dream. It never happened. So
I mean, okay, I just want to say something on that before we move on. I feel like a lot of times school is I have nothing against college at all, but I feel like school is one of those things that's like, oh, you need to go to school, but you go to school to get a job and make a living for your family. So if you already have a career laid out, what's really the purpose? That's my opinion on it.
Mine as well. I've had that discussion with my son. My son's 18 and he graduates this year.
Okay, so he's coming around that time.
We've had that discussion, and ultimately, don't go to school just to go to school.
Yeah.
But if you're required to go to school or have a degree in order to do what it is that you want to do, then obviously that becomes a necessity. Something that you have to do. But if what you want to do doesn't require it, then what's the point?
Maybe just jump right into it.
Just a waste of money.
100%. So you started doing roofing 3 weeks before Hurricane Ivan and never made it back to school. So you're working for another company, and then what did that change? Kind of at what point were you like, okay, I can do this on my own, and not only can I'm gonna make that change.
Yeah. So again, what we spoke about earlier, I was 19 years old. I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't have a family to support or anybody counting on me. So my risk tolerance was through the roof. I could do whatever I wanted to do. And after about a year or so of working with the other company, I was probably naive at that age, but I was like, I think I can do this. And I was super ambitious anyway. So I stepped out on my own and gave it a shot, and through a lot of hard lessons learned over the years, and some multiple close calls with near failure. I just kept on going, and it's all worked out slowly but surely. But about the company, so full service roofing company, residential, commercial. We do some industrial stuff as well. Basically all different types of roof systems. There's not much that we won't do. There are a few things. But pretty much a full-service roofing company. Currently, we service the majority of the Panhandle: Santa Rosa, Escambia, Okaloosa. We intend to have another branch over in maybe Defuniak, Freeport before end of year.
Okay. Awesome.
To start servicing kind of the east side of Okaloosa County and all of Walton County, primarily South Walton. And as time goes on, we'll probably continue to creep eastward, and at some point down the line, maybe be able to cover all of Florida. So.
Interesting.
So making that jump was worth it.
100%. Yeah. So that's something that I want to kind of ask again, and I'm sorry if this is repetitive.
That's okay.
But so at what point? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
So at what point were you working and doing your own gig and getting busy enough to where you started needing help, and what did that growth look like? Go ahead and tell that story again.
So I don't recall exactly at what point in terms of how many years. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years in. So the first couple of few years, it was really just myself. I was wearing all hats. I was doing the work. I was writing the estimates. I was seeing homeowners. It was really just a really mom and pop, very small operation. I'd hire a few people to help me out here and there when I needed it. But I also started immediately after Hurricane Ivan had come through. So all of the roofs were done. There was no roofing work. It was going behind other companies to make small repairs here and there, but there weren't really any roofs left to do.
Interesting. Okay.
So initially it wasn't roofing. It was siding and windows and doors and decks and kitchens and baths and just basically any type of contracting work, whatever I could do to make ends meet. And then let's see, I guess it was about 2 years later, I tested for my roofing license. And after I got my roofing license, it was still quite a bit of other things. And slowly but surely over the years, there was a few more roofs and a few more roofs. And then as things started to pick up and get a little bit busier, got to where I couldn't wear all of the hats. I had to have some help. And that story that I told earlier, I remember very vividly. It was like a Wednesday night at maybe 11 or 12 o'clock. I had my office, if that's what you want to call it, in a spare bedroom, and my fiance at the time, she came in and said, "Look, something's got to give. Either you hire somebody to help you, or you find a new girlfriend." So I made the choice to start looking for somebody to help out, and
there it is.
The lady that we ended up finding. She's actually still with us today. So that's been about 10 years ago now.
So that was a solid first hire.
Yeah.
So I really like what you had said before. Basically, just that's the catalyst for you having that was the necessity for you to make that change. Okay, something's got to give here,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
And you said that change is born out of necessity. And I think that's such a really interesting tidbit there. So, and where did you find that first hire? Was it just somebody that you knew, or?
So I because I was wearing all the hats, I was I was the person who was seeing the customers. I was the person pulling the permits and doing everything. Well, I had a relationship because of that with the permit techs at Santa Rosa and Escambia County, and I was kind of stuck in the Stone Age at that point with regard to rather than doing permits remotely through email or fax. I just go up there and sit down in front of a permit tech and fill
those
out
relationships.
And it turned out to work out well because one of the permit techs, I was just making conversation while I was getting a permit picked up and talking about needing somebody, and she made a recommendation, and we ended up making a hire out of it. So
interesting.
It worked out.
And she's still with you. That's awesome. Right. I feel like to have somebody that can come on in the very beginning and help you kind of divide and conquer everything that needs done, and then for that person to stick on with you the entire time, I feel like is just really so helpful. That's super interesting. So what I want to do is jump into some of the business concepts, and then we'll go into some more industry specific things. So first of all, and we kind of have talked about this just a little bit already, but what were some things that you didn't expect about, number one, about starting and running your own business, which you already said that there was a lot of different hats that you had to wear, so maybe time management or things like that. And then what were some things that you didn't expect about the industry potentially?
So things that I did not expect, and you have to forgive me. These things are so far in the rear view. It's hard to really recollect. Some of the challenges that we faced. So what we talked about or touched on a little bit earlier was that the company that I was with when I started, I was in the field. I didn't have any access. I wasn't privy to any of the back office or like the business management side of it. And I never been in any kind of management before. So when I started my own company, I didn't have any kind of a background like that. I didn't have any exposure to a business plan or a business model or anything like that. So going out on my own, I didn't have anything to structure it from. Yeah. So I really just, I was winging it. And I've been winging it for a while.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel some of the ramifications. Well, I say starting to, in the past 4 to 5 years, we've had to go back and fix some things and restructure some things to build a better framework for the business, because those things weren't really in place at the time. So yeah, I feel like it comes back to that necessity thing. I mean, whenever you first start out, you have to provide for either yourself or maybe whoever you're responsible for.
And so a lot of your time is just spent just kind of working your face off and trying to find where the next paycheck is going to come from.
Yeah.
I know that's one thing that I struggled with when I first started in real estate is just you spend most of your day prospecting or trying to find that next deal, and just accounting or paperwork or a lot of different things just get kind of pushed away. Not that they're not important, but they're not important enough right now.
Exactly.
So, well, I guess then I'd be curious to hear what your structure is looking like now. And you said you're going back and kind of fixing some things. What does the structure look like now? If somebody maybe calls you and wants to do a job, what does the process look like? And I know you've removed yourself from a lot of the process, so I'm curious to hear about that.
So it's certainly night and day from what it was 5 years and definitely 10 years ago. So now we've got about 30 full-time employees. We have
30. Wow.
Yeah, and so we've got several people in the office that can answer the phone and take the lead information. Once the lead information is obtained, it goes into a CRM. I don't know if you're familiar with a CRM.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes into a CRM, gets assigned to a sales rep. Sales rep makes initial contact and goes out there, documents the job site, gets all the pertinent information, measurements, counts, etc. Creates the estimate, submits it to the customer. After everything gets approved, it gets turned back into the office for the permitting and notice of commencements, basically all the back office paperwork part of it. And then it gets pushed over to production, and production schedules, orders materials, runs it through that entire process. And then once the job's complete and gets submitted as such, the office takes it over again for all the invoicing, if it's insurance, the supplementing. So a lot of different hands. It changes hands often, but we've got it down to a pretty good science, and we started in the past probably 2 to 3 years, started using a lot of automations, which makes things a lot more efficient along the way. So.
Yeah, interesting. I can't believe 30 employees. That's awesome. I see you guys' trucks all the time,
right?
And I saw it the other day. I was like, man, that's so cool. I think that's really cool to have wrap trucks and stuff. So, and it was funny because I called you the other day for a job that we just passed off to you. And, I was asking you, hey, what's the process for, what's the paperwork look like to even get started? Cause one of my buyers was concerned about it. And you were like, man, here's who you need to call. Like, I'm so far removed from the process. And I just thought, man, good for you. Good for you. That's awesome that you're not, kind of in the trenches.
I wish that meant that, I had free time, but it doesn't. There's still a lot of things that have to be done, and I've got a never-ending list.
Sure.
I think some people, that's just their personality. It don't matter how much you take off their plate; they're always going to have a never-ending list. I think I'm one of those people. Making those strategic hires, people that can take care of those things. I basically just keep replacing myself as the need arises, and I've been super fortunate in my hiring, and I've got some really amazing people. There's zero chance that the business would have had or seen the success that it has without several of the key players that we have. So super fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, the hiring process is so important because those are the people who are going to be handling when you're not there, so it's important for them to be, and training and all that stuff is a whole nother thing that we could talk about. I'm sure
a rabbit hole. For sure.
Yeah. So, and we can talk about, I feel like we talk about systems and time management and things like that often on the podcast. But it's just something that's so prevalent. Like you said, a lot of people have so much stuff on their plate. Do you have any kind of rules and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what's your kind of selection for, yes, I can take this on and do this, or no, this needs to be passed off to someone else? Do you have any kind of system for that, or are you kind of just a pile it on kind of person?
If you asked me this a year ago, I would probably have a little more strategic answer.
Okay.
Since Hurricane Sally, it's been kind of an all hands on deck.
Sure.
I don't necessarily have a process for that, and we're getting back to that. But I think we're still in the thick of it. A lot of folks, customers, it's been so long since the storm hit. It's been a while. Everything seems very, very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not normal for us.
Yeah.
We're still doing. We're probably doing about 3 to 4 times the amount of production that we were doing prior
Wow.
to the storm. So it's like we're in the trenches every single day, and my people are they're
Swamped.
Yeah, they're swamped, and they're doing the best that they can. And but the demand on not just us, but all roofing companies really is super high. So we're all just trudging along, doing the best we can with it.
Yeah.
But
and this is something I was going to ask a little bit later too, but I know even with the whole virus thing, and the materials are just through the roof right now too, in addition to the high demand because of the hurricane. So I'm sure it's just crazy topped on top of crazy,
Yeah. So with regard to the virus, it was actually a really good thing for business, because like we saw our business start to spike. And I think, the only thing you can really attribute that to, I think, is just people being at home more and starting to notice things that need to be taken care of, and maybe moving them up a little bit on the priority list, or they may have just been bored and need
Get somebody out here to fix that.
Yeah, let's take care of that.
Yeah.
But we're probably beginning around probably around the time that the storm hit. The storm was kind of a catalyst that really set it off. But at this point, I know it's industry wide, like throughout the nation. There's shortages on just about everything. Shingles. Everybody's really been feeling it. That's starting to let up a little bit. I think in part because the manufacturers have been just pumping them out as fast as they possibly can. But we're still dealing with material availability issues every day. And
Man.
It's just now starting to get better. But some of the things that our customers, it's hard to help them understand, and you certainly don't have time to explain it in detail to every customer. But part of, or one of the challenges we've had since the storm is that when we order the material, there was no indication from distribution or from manufacturing when we could expect the material to arrive. Mm-hmm. If you don't know when the materials are going to arrive, then you can't schedule a delivery. You can't schedule a start date for the job. You can't schedule anything. You're just totally in the dark until you get a call that says, "Hey, your materials are here." and
Oh, okay.
Right. So for the past 6 months, it's basically been every evening around 4, 5, 6 o'clock, we get a list and says, "This is what we have that we can deliver tomorrow."
Wow.
So every evening at around 5 or 6 o'clock, we'd go through a list of 10 to 15 customers and say, "Hey, we have your materials. We're going to deliver it tomorrow."
Hope that works for you.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, wow.
It's a surprise, but it is tough to work under those conditions, day in, day out, especially for a 6-month duration.
Man, yeah, because I feel like you're always in the lurch just a little bit, just waiting for. You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's really, man, that's so crazy.
It's starting to get a little bit better. So, at this point, they can, we've got it set up to where each week we'll get a list, and that list is usually 40 to 50 clients long. So we have these that we can deliver, then we'll set delivery dates for the following week. Well, now we can set our scheduled material delivery dates, create automations based on those delivery dates, and then we can actually build out an installation schedule. Even though it's only a week or two long, it's better than nothing. It's better than
it's still taking stuff off your plate. Yeah.
So it's we're starting to see a little bit of daylight in that regard, but it's still not ideal, but it is light years better than calling somebody the day before and saying, "Hey, surprise."
Yeah,
we're bringing material tomorrow.
So I know you said it's absolutely spiked, especially starting with the virus and then the hurricane. And maybe this is a number that you don't have off the top of your head, but how many active contracts do you have? Do you think?
I could tell you precisely. Take a look at my phone, and I can tell you exactly what we got. But it's probably in that 600 to 700 range. As far as active contracts that we haven't installed the roofs yet. And
that's a lot of roofs.
This in November, December, January, February, March. So we've probably installed between 800 and 1,000 since the storm, probably approaching 1,000 roofs since the storm.
Wow.
So, I mean, we've been putting them on at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the weather will work with us.
Yeah, I know. We enjoyed the weekend. It was nice and sunny, and it's just sucks when you look at the forecast. It's like the rest of the week is going to be rainy. That's not why I live in Florida. It's not for the rain.
Well, I think we got spoiled for a few months after the storm. We had a really dry winter, so that was great for production. We were able to move through some stuff, but getting into that time of year here in Florida where
you're getting delayed a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what the weather says. There's a chance of rain every day.
Yeah, that's true. That's the funny thing. You can wake up in the morning and it's nice, and then it'll rain, and then it's nice again. It's tough. So moving on then, just in an industry that, especially now, it's like a mad dash really for people to get roofs on. I know everybody's super busy. And so maybe the business is abundant for everybody.
Yeah.
But in a market like this, and just in a service-based industry in general, what advice would you give, or what lessons have you learned as far as standing out from kind of the noise of everybody else who's vying for really the same kind of job? Because that's really how it is for real estate professionals. Is there's 3,000 realtors here in Pensacola who will all just about they're going to provide the same service. They're going to do the same job, maybe not provide the same service, but everybody has their distinct value add, and
Sure.
I'm kind of wondering what that is for you.
So I guess some of the things that worked really well for us, just doing what you say you're going to do, obviously, is a huge one. But as far as separating yourselves from the competition in a way that your clients can actually see, one of the things that's worked really well for us is reviews. So, we don't press too hard, but we do ask all of our clients to review us, especially if anybody on the team's done something really gone out of the way to help them. Gone the extra mile on something. But we always try to ask for feedback, and it's not always great. But when you don't have excellent feedback, identifying why, what went wrong, what can we improve on, what can we do better, and then putting some effort into making changes to make the experience a little more seamless for the customer. If you can do that, then make things easy for them. Then I think it's
chain reaction.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that was one thing when I first started with Mark. I mean, Mark takes the business very seriously. And so he told me, he said, anytime I send you a client, they get a survey after you're finished with them, and they rate you. Just so you know, they rate you on your communication, your knowledge, everything. And when he first told me that, I was like, man, it scared me. But then after a while, I thought, man, good for him, because he knows he's hearing from his customers, his clients every single time, hey, how was your experience with so-and-so? And it just keeps you kind of on the edge of, and sometimes you don't want to hear it. You don't want to know what people are saying because it's going to be negative. But if they're not saying it to you and you're not hearing it and making changes, they're saying it to someone else probably.
So, ask him for feedback so you know where you fall short, and then can, put some kind of effort into making changes to be better. That's
the name of the game.
Right. We want to be better.
Yeah.
Putting effort into making those changes is, I guess, step one.
Interesting. I think that's a good answer. So having said that, then in any kind of industry like this, what hurdles maybe do you think newcomers would face if somebody was trying to get into the business now? What's some advice that you would maybe go back and give your younger self? Maybe it's about the wearing too many hats or different things like that. But what barriers to entry do you think there are to the roofing industry, and what advice would you give to people looking to start out?
So barriers to entry, like the first thing that comes to mind is licensing. Florida it probably is the most difficult of all states with regard to licensure.
Really?
Yeah, most definitely. So there's a handful of prerequisites. I'm not up to date on what the current prerequisites are, but there's certain criteria you have to meet even after you've tested and passed the test, which isn't
isn't easy.
Right. It's a pretty in-depth thing, and it's expensive too to even get the books and maybe do preparatory classes, and then to pay for the test itself, travel and go do the test.
Yeah.
The testing and the licensure, but then the prerequisites, some of those are capital prerequisites. You have to basically prove financial responsibility before they'll
Really?
yeah. So there's the prerequisites and licensure is probably the first major hurdle. So it makes it really difficult. Well, myself at 19 years old, it was tough to get past that hurdle right out of the gate. Let's see, other hurdles out of the gate. Well, capital. Sure, if you were to get the license, you can't. There's not many people who just unless you go get a rather significant business loan to buy trucks and trailers and then you've got to get your credit accounts. Well, if you're young and starting out, they're not likely to extend you much of a credit line. So you kind of handcuffed out of the gate at the very beginning, but you just put your nose to the grindstone and just start chipping away at there's no shortcut. Just work hard and put in the hours early on, and
pay off
happen down the
eventually.
road.
Enough of a drive like you did.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of young professionals struggle with, and certainly I have in the past. Is I want to work really hard today and see my results tomorrow.
Yeah, instant gratification.
There's
there's no such thing.
Correct,
Yeah.
especially in business, man. We live in kind of a microwave society where you can get stuff quickly and on demand streaming and stuff like that, and it's hard to work day in and day out and just know, okay, the results from this are coming down the road, but only if I keep doing this every day. It's hard to work without any kind of and I say without any results. It's cool to see results in sales and stuff over time, but it definitely you have to commit for the long term. So
for sure.
All right, so a question I have for you then, and this is something that I know a few things to look out for, but it's one of those things that I get asked questions often, and I'm like, you know what, this would be the perfect time while I have you.
Sure.
So what things, how can you know that your roof needs replacing? What are maybe some earmarks of potential problems, or ages or different things like that? What can you look out for?
So with regard to age, in Florida, you can just about cut the lifespan of virtually everything in half when you're in Florida. And asphalt shingle roofs is certainly one of the things on that list. 15 to 20 years for many of the roofs that we see right now is realistically about what you should expect. With the roofs that we're putting on today, probably more along the lines of 20 to 25 years. A caveat to that is that the insurance industry is becoming a bit of a driving force in the life expectancy of roof systems now. And you guys are probably seeing some of this on your real estate deals, that buyers are having a hard time obtaining insurance on homes that they're purchasing or planning to purchase when the age of the roof is in excess of 15 years.
Yep.
So, like I said, the insurance industry is certainly playing a role in how often the roofs are having to be replaced. And it's my understanding that they're pushing some legislation right now that's going to have an even bigger impact on that.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know all of the details, but there's a conversation I had earlier today with somebody in the insurance industry, and it sounds as if they intend to make some changes to homeowners insurance in Florida specifically that would basically allow them to implement a homeowner's policy that covered replacement cost value during the first 10 years of the policy.
Wow.
But after 10 years, it becomes an ACV or actual cash value policy, where the depreciation that gets applied to the claim would no longer be recoverable. So if you had a claim at year 10, while it was still an RCV or a replacement cost value policy, and it cost let's say $10,000 to replace that roof, they might apply 25% depreciation to that roof at 10 years old, saying that it's 25% of its life is gone, but that depreciation would be recoverable. So if you paid a full $10,000 to a roofing contractor, maybe they only paid $7,500 up front. But you could recover that remaining $2,500 after you've spent it in order to replace the roof. But after year 10, they would pay the $7,500, and the depreciation of 25% they would not pay out.
So that have to come out of pocket then, or
Right?
Okay,
it would come out of pocket, and 25% is probably a little bit on the low side. A 10-year roof, most insurance companies would probably apply anywhere from 30 to 50% depreciation.
Yeah.
So you may be looking at pretty significant out-of-pocket expense, especially if it's a hurricane. If it's a hurricane and you've got a 2% hurricane deductible, and let's say your insurance policy has let's say it's up to $200,000 of coverage, and it's a 2% deductible. That's $4,000 on the deductible. And then if your roof is, say, 12 years old and they depreciate it by 50%, it's a $10,000 roof. That's $5,000.
Yep.
Well, that means that all they're going to pay for that $10,000 roof is $1,000.
Yeah.
Because
your deductible is $4,000 and they're paying out $5,000.
Right. So then now you're on the hook for 90% of the cost of that roof replacement, anywhere past year 10.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's all something that that was just a conversation I had earlier today with somebody in the insurance industry, and they said that they're looking at pushing some legislation that would allow them to start writing policies like that. So certainly urge, and I do this daily. A lot of people don't have any idea what's in their insurance policy until they have to use it, and like I understand it's
a lot to read through.
Right. It's a lot to read through. And most people will just say, oh, yeah, looks good. But there's often some things in there that people need to be aware of. And sadly, there's quite a few folks that we've tried to help that they're just they didn't realize what they had. They didn't have nearly as much insurance as they thought they did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was something. I mean, that exact story of having like a $3,000 deductible. I had a client who was going to have to pay like $3,000 and just get a few hundred over that back.
Right.
And it was like, it's just not even worth the hassle of the claim at that point.
Yep.
So it's like, what's the point of insurance if they don't even, if they don't cover it? It's just really, it's tough. So, it's hard. I mean, we're writing contracts daily, and our real estate contract is like 13 pages. Nobody reads it. Nobody does. So, I mean, they have to trust us that we're taking care of them, but it's hard to read through stuff. So anyway, okay. Well, moving on from that then, just a couple more things. First of all, we talked a little bit about time management already, but can you give us some insight into what your days typically look like now? I mean, you got 30 people working for you. You're not up on roofs really anymore doing stuff. So kind of let us know, are you in the office or are out meeting people or doing what?
Yeah, so most of my day is spent in the office, and things have changed since Sally and haven't really gotten back to normal.
Yeah. Okay.
As things normalize, then most of my time will be spent on working on the business, creating training platforms for expansion that we talked about earlier. Looking at P&Ls and reviewing processes and creating automations and just basically working on efficiencies inside the business, like fine-tuning things, not necessarily doing the day-to-day tasks. Right now, I find myself still, because there's still a lot of overflow from Sally, I find myself still doing more of the day-to-day stuff.
Well,
I've got projects that are assigned to me, rather than other sales reps.
I mean, with several hundred open contracts right now, I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet everybody's busy. So, that's interesting. That's something that I feel like whenever you reach a certain point, you have to make the shift to work on the business rather than in the business. But I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a tough transition for anybody who really enjoys doing the hands-on and doing the work, Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that for me because I'm even just, we talk about this all the time on the podcast, but just giving him stuff to do, I always want to check in like, hey, how's this doing? And I don't want to micromanage, but it's just a tough transition.
That was a really tough transition for me, but I probably, it gets easier. It really does. So, initially it was super hard for me to let go of anything.
Yeah.
But once I did and started letting go a little more and a little more, I started developing trust in that first hire. And then when we made a second hire, it was a little bit easier to let go of a few things. And every time it gets a little bit easier. And, now once I feel confident in making a hire, then usually I'm not the one that's having to oversee at this point. But I trust the team that I have in place to make things work. There's certainly a lot less stress on my end.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Like I say, it gets easier.
Yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I love that, man. So, what do you like to do in your free time then when you're not? I know things have been busy in the last few months because of Sally, but what do you do?
So there hasn't been a lot of free time recently, but looking forward to this summer. So free time, probably. I enjoy sport fishing.
Okay.
A good friend of mine, he owns a sport fishing vessel, and we fished quite a few tournaments last year. Several tournaments along the Gulf Coast, and it's marlin, wahoo, tuna, dolphin. We got first place in a couple of categories last
cool.
year, and
Nice.
and got to bring home a little bit of money, so that was exciting. But really enjoy the camaraderie of it. We got a good team that goes out there, and we have a blast with it. So really enjoy that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've got to put in a shameless plug for the Pensacola Men's Baseball League.
Okay.
So I play in the Pensacola Men's Baseball League, and we have a blast with that. So it's live, fast pitch, wood bat baseball. It's baseball.
Wow.
And we have a really good time with that. So I've been playing in that for several years, and we actually have our opening day, I think the weekend of April 10th.
Cool. Coming up here soon.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And that's that. I mean, really, as far as free time goes, that's
Keeps you
about
busy enough.
that's about all I've got time for.
Yeah, no, we'll put in a plug for the league. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, sounds good. If anybody wants to maybe connect with you or learn more about the business or anything, do you have a place that you'd prefer people reach out to you? Maybe like, are you on LinkedIn or Facebook or what?
Yeah, so probably the website. It's
Okay.
qualityroofingsolutions.com. And then, of course, we're on Facebook as well. But the website's probably the preferred method of contact. We got contact forms and such on there, and gallery, a lot of our previous work and such. So
Cool, man.
yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Brian, I appreciate you coming on the show. Had a little
You
bit
got
of a
it.
hiccup when we first started out, but
That's all right.
I feel like we really you bring a lot of value to everybody. So I appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you having me.